Hello, welcome to this video on how to use a drone and backing tracks in your home practice. In this video, I'm just going to cover a bunch of different options that you can explore in your practice and some starting points to get the juices flowing and also apply it to your vocal development. Firstly, what is a drone and why do we use it? A drone is just a continuous sound that we play underneath our singing to give us a reference point and a context for exploring all of the dimensions of our vocal practice. It's a concept that's used extensively in the Indian music tradition, which is why they created drone instruments like the shruti box and the tambura. But it's a principle that really transcends tradition because it can be used for many different music styles and purposes. I'm going to mainly talk about two different kinds of drones today. Firstly, the shruti box, which you'll be able to hear in the background. And also I'm going to talk about an option for that you can find on YouTube, which are called ambient backing tracks. And they also have produced some drones in different keys and with different atmospheres and different feelings that you can also explore. So really a drone is just one continuous sound or continuous tone that gives you a reference point for, exploring your voice, and it can also be used for other instruments as well. In vocal practice with a drone, we're really just exploring melody and all of the ways that we can create melody with scales and modes. I won't go into the different scales and modes that you can use in this. We'll just start off with sort of an intuitive practice that can get you started. So the first thing you'll need to do is decide which drone you want to use. If you have a shruti box, if you're lucky enough to have a shruti box, you can obviously use one. But if you don't have your own instrument, you can use recordings of a shruti box. There are also apps you can get on your phone that mimic the sound of a shruti box or a tanpura from the Indian music tradition. Or you can use any kind of backing track that you can find on YouTube that is a drone. It's important to understand that if you look up backing tracks on YouTube, you'll find many different kinds of backing tracks. And what we're using specifically for this practice is a drone. So make sure it says that in the title. I'm going to be sharing some resources with you, some links and some shruti box recordings that you can use straight away. So once you've decided which drone you're going to use, just have that at the ready. You can have it on your phone or any kind of device. And you're going to want to pick a focus. So what I would suggest primarily is start off with a vocal technique focus so that you can integrate the exploration of singing with the drone and the backing track with actual vocal development. So you can decide to focus on your breath support. You could decide to focus on your chest voice in your lower sort of vocal range. You could decide to explore your head voice more and try to develop that a little more in your higher vocal range. You could decide to explore a technique like twang to try and get a little bit more resonance and ease happening in your voice. Or you could explore the mixed voice where you are blending between the chest voice and the head voice. So it really depends on where you're at in your vocal practice and what you're most curious about, what you're feeling inspired to do, and where you feel that your sort of edge is with your vocal development. So first I'll give you a bit of an example of what this would look like with the shruti box drone, and then I'll give you an example of what it might look like with a backing track from YouTube. So firstly, I'll give you some simple options that you could use for either of the vocal technique aspects that I just mentioned. If you're working on your breath support, really just focus on that sense of as you're singing, you're drawing your belly in so that you're feeling that muscular anchor and support as you're making sound. So that's the main kind of focus with that. If you're focusing on your chest voice, use the syllable ya. That's a really great one for chest voice because it's nice and open. If you're focusing on your head voice, you could use the syllable you, and that's a nice one to encourage that chest voice with the you kind of sound. If you are exploring twang, you can either use a hum like or you can use nya. Nya is a really good one for encouraging that buzzy, twangy kind of nasty kind of sound. Nya, nya, nya. It really brings it up forward into your face. And if you're exploring the mixed voice, you could use yeah and use a smile, because it still uses a bright kind of tone, but it's not quite as intense as the twang, and it helps to bring that to your chest voice and your head voice nice and easily. So first, just pick one of those. Pick breath support, ya for chest voice, you for head voice, or nya for twang, and yeah with a smile for your mixed voice. Pick one of those techniques. Then you're going to want to set your drone going and start with long tones. That's the easiest place to start. And if you're not sure what to sing, sing one tone. So you're going to set your drone going, and you just want to listen to that drone. Listen to the pitch of that drone, and listen for the most obvious sound that you can hear. And you're just going to start from there. So more than likely, you'll just be matching the pitch of the main pitch of that drone. So I'm going to choose chest voice. So we're going to use ya. Ya. And that's the tone that we'll be starting with, because it's the main pitch of the drone, and is the easiest one to hear. Now you might be able to hear some other pitches or some other possibilities there. So the first thing you might like to do is just move around a few tones that seem obvious to start with. Just sing some long tones, kind of just get your bearings with the drone and with the sort of context that you're in here. So you're just singing long tones of the most obvious tones that you can hear. Then once you feel like you've kind of got your bearings, then you're going to want to just start stepping from the most obvious tone. So if we go ya, then to step would be going ya, 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 for example, or ya, 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 ya. So just stepping in sort of an intuitive way from that most obvious tone that you can hear. So that's where we start to get our bearings. What you're going to be doing here really is you are essentially singing a scale, but it's the most obvious, most intuitive scale, the one that we hear in music all the time. And so that's sort of embedded in our awareness, whether you know it or not, whether that's obvious to you or not, it's going to be where you'll be stepping to. So trust your intuition here. Allow yourself just to step up and down. And even if it's just ya, 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 ya. Just follow your intuition of where you can move from that most obvious tone. What's really important here is that you are singing what you can hear. If you're finding it difficult to hear, what I recommend is actually just pausing for a moment and listening to the drone and just trying to imagine some possibilities that you could sing. Singing requires that we can hear the sound in our mind that we want to sing. So that's a really good practice, is just actually to listen to the drone and imagine some possibilities. So once you've sort of found the most obvious tones that you can hear and you started sort of stepping it up and down from those tones, the next thing you want to try is creating some patterns. So patterns are just little repeated groups of notes that you can sing. So if you go ya, 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 that's a pattern. And if you repeat it, ya, 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 it becomes a repeated pattern. Then you can move those around. So let's say you use that pattern, but you start in a higher place. So ya, ya, and maybe move that a step lower. Ya, 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 ya. And then bring it back to where you started. Ya, 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 ya. Maybe take it lower. Ya, 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 ya. You can move it around to many different places. You can also take the idea of 3 notes and use that in a different kind of pattern. So instead of going ya, 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 you can step it up. Ya, ya, ya. And then you can move that around. Ya, ya, ya. Ya, ya, ya. Ya, ya, ya. So you can see how we're just using this idea of a pattern and finding different places that we can sing that. You can decide then to flip it around and do it backwards. Ya, ya, ya. So moving downwards instead of up. So you can see there's sort of all of these possibilities that you can, you've started just from the most obvious tone. You've started stepping around, and then you've started creating patterns out of those steps that you can take. And you might find there are, it's easier to hear where to go from some places more than others, and that's okay. Over time, the landscape becomes more clear because you'll start to be able to predict and hear the possibilities. But just to begin with, when you're first starting out with this practice, you just want to go intuitively with the things that you can hear most obviously and start filling in the gaps from there. So now let's just have a quick look at the ambient backing tracks on YouTube that you can use and just have a little play with one of those. So here is the ambient backing tracks channel, and I will provide a link to this channel so that you can find it nice and easily. And I'll just sort of show you around. So you can see it's got chill, relaxing F-sharp drone, smooth, enchanting C-sharp drone, deep, nostalgic G-sharp drone. It's got many different drones and they're all 30 minutes each, which is amazing because it's nice and long. It gives you a chance to really explore and do a practice. You'll find you like some of them more than others, which I've certainly found. And whichever ones that you do like, you can always just pop into a playlist for yourself to come back to nice and easily. Why don't we have a quick look at thick meditative F drone. So this will be a different key than the Shruti box. The Shruti box is in C, this is in F. So you might find if you've got a lower voice or a higher voice, you might, find a key that you like better than the Shruti box key. And that's all good. You wanna just, find what really works for you. And you can see how we've come into this track, and you can see the description and everything if you want more information about it. But basically all you need to do is just press play on that, and you can hear it's just a drone like the Shruti box, but with some different instruments and in a different key. So you can use this in the same way. Ya, ya, ya. 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 So really, it's the same process. It's just a different backing and a different key that you're using there. I will also show you another couple of options here. You've also got, so this ambient backing tracks has a lot of drone tracks, but it also has chords, which are also kind of fun. So with these ones, because they are a chord, they're going to suggest different modes that you could sing with. You don't necessarily have to know what mode or scale it is that you're singing with, but you'll hear it in the backing track. These are the ones that are just a single chord. If they say something like C minor or D minor and so forth, that will be a full chord progression, which is sort of the next step that you would go on to. So, but we'll keep it at the chords because it means that it will remain a drone and it will still give you that the same process that we've been going through so far. So if we go into beautiful chill out B9 chord, let's give that a try. And again, you don't really need to worry about knowing what B9 means per se. Just listen to the sound, listen to the track, and listen for what you can hear. Listen to the obvious notes that you can hear, just like we have before. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the chord will suggest possibilities to you. And the main thing that you want to the main way that you want to approach this is really as a listening exercise. So really listen to the sound and pick out, imagine possibilities, and then just give something a go. Give it a try. See what you find resonates and matches with the sound that you're hearing. In a lot of ways, this is both a vocal technique practice, it's a creative practice, and it's also an ear training practice. So I'll just pause that. So just to summarize that process for you once again, really what you're doing is you're choosing your drone, whether that's a Shruti box, a recording, an app, or a backing track on YouTube. You are picking your technique that you want to focus on, whether that's breath support, chest voice, head voice, mix or twang. You are putting your drone on and you're listening. Listen first. Listen for the most obvious sound that you can start with. And even if that means waiting a while until you can really imagine it in your mind before singing, give it space, give it time. Really use that opportunity to listen deeply to the sound that you're hearing so that you can match that. Then you're stepping up or stepping down from that most obvious sound that you can hear. And then you can move that around. You can create patterns, repeated short little patterns, and you can move them around to different places. You can also turn them around and do them backwards and in any sort of order you like. You can use just straight drones, or you can also use the chords in the ambient backing tracks that are going to suggest a bunch of different options to you. And again, that's going to become a bit more of an ear training exercise and a listening exercise for you to explore. So I hope that gives you lots of options that you can play with there. Let me know if you have any questions, and happy singing.